I got to meet a bunch of people from your team. It's just incredible human beings. So let me just ask on that topic: how do you hire a great team? Like, what have you learned about hiring for everything for the main channel that you do,
Yeah.
for the React the game the gaming channel to MrBeast Burger to Feastables, all that.
The big thing is, especially in this content creation, because it's not like anything that's done on Netflix or different content mediums. I really need people who are coachable and like really see the value in what I care about, because it's a very specific way of going about things, and it's a thing. There's no one like plug and play. Like if Netflix wanted to hire someone to do a documentary, there's probably tens of thousands of people you could hire that have worked on documentaries before. But if you want to hire someone to make super viral YouTube videos, like we do, there's just no one you can really pull from. Like sometimes I'll hire people from game shows, right? And they have all these preconceived notions about pacing and how a video should be, and you have to spend like the first year like breaking all these habits, and and they think they're better than you. Like a lot of people in traditional think they're better, and they think their way is better than what we do. And so for me, it's almost easier to hire people that are just hard workers, that are obsessed and really coachable, and just train them how to like be good at content creation and production, than to hire someone from like traditional, which is the only way to really do it, because there's not that many YouTube channels that have scaled up. So it's not like there's a huge talent pool of people who've worked on YouTube channels. So it's easier just to train someone than just pull them from traditional, because traditional people just, I don't know, they have all these opinions and things, and they just think our way of going about things is dumb.
Yeah, so you want people who have the humility to have a beginner's mind, even if they have
And see the
experience.
value. Like
Yeah.
actually, you'll still get it. It's so crazy. Like especially some of my other friends that are scaling up their YouTube channels. There's people that will come on and you'll ask them like, "What do you want to be doing in 5 years?" And instead of saying, "Oh, I want to be working on this channel," they'll be like, "Oh, I hope to be working on movies or
Yeah.
this or that." And they see like working on a YouTube channel as a launch pad to go into traditional. And it's like, no, like you just don't get it.
This is the
This
future.
is the end goal.
Yeah.
This is your career. Um, and so I'm just so tired of having those kinds of conversations. Like I feel like people really should be coming around.
Are there like recurring interview questions that you ask? Is there ways to get?
Yeah, but the biggest thing is like, what do you want to be doing in 10 years? And if their answer isn't, making content on YouTube, or, if their answer is anything like movies or traditional stuff like that, it's like just a hell no. Like it just won't even remotely work.
Oh, so you really want people to believe in the vision of YouTube as a
Yeah. I mean,
platform.
ideally, it's like, oh, working here. You know what I mean?
So it's less about the medium and more about just being on a great team that's doing epic stuff.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, the media as well. Cause it's hard to put it into words, but it's just two completely different ways of going about things. Like our videos aren't scripted, and it's a lot more run and gun. And if we hypothetically blow up a giant car or whatever, like you only have one take, you know what I mean? So and it's not scripted, and so you have to overfilm, overshoot things, overcompensate for like the dumb way of going about it. And a lot of traditional people would be like, well, just plan what you're going to say and just plan the angles. You can cut the cameras in half. You can save 50 grand here. You can save, $75,000 editing, this and that. And it's like, yeah, but that's not authentic. Like that's, blah, blah. You get it. It's almost so obvious that it hurts to have to like constantly have these conversations, but it's what we live in.
But there's also detail, like there's a taste. Like I've watched a bunch of videos with you, and it's clear to you that you've gotten really good. I don't know what the right word is, style or taste, to be able to know what's good and not in terms of retention, in terms of
Yeah.
just stylistically, visually.
I don't have to think. I can just watch a video and it just screams in my head like
Yeah.
this is what should change based on the million videos I've watched and all these viral videos I've consumed. Like this is blah blah blah. What's optimal and things like that. It's almost like your brain's like a neural net, and like if you consume enough viral videos and enough good content, that you just kind of start to like train your brain to like see it and see these patterns that happen in all these viral videos. And so that anytime I watch a video or a movie or anything, I just can't stop thinking about what is optimal. And so it's like it gives me a headache sometimes when I watch something too slow or I don't think is optimal. Obviously my taste isn't the end all be all, but that's something that kind of torments me, if that makes any sense.
Oh, you can't enjoy a slow moving
No, I
like
can't.
movie.
And that's not to say
The
there isn't
retention on The Godfather is horrible.
yeah, no, exactly. I've tried to watch that movie like three
Yeah.
times, and that's not to say slow movies are bad. Like, there's an audience for it. It's just obviously not what I've trained my brain to like. And social media and YouTube right now, like, that's just not the meta.
And in general, like you said, in neural network, you're training your brain in part on actual data. right? So you're actually, it's data driven. So you're looking at like in terms of thumbnails and titles and different aspects of like the first 5-10 seconds, and then throughout the video, the retention, all of that. You're looking at all of that for your own videos to understand how to do it better. So that's where the neural network is training.
Yeah. Basically, there are ways you can kind of see like the most viewed videos on YouTube every day and stuff like that. And I just kind of consume those every single day. And I've been doing that for way too many years. And you just start to notice patterns. Like the thumbnails on the most viewed videos or videos that go super viral tend to be clear, tend to not have much clutter, tend to be pretty simple. Titles tend to be less than 50 characters. Intros tend to be this. Stories tend to be this. And you just kind of like, after you see those thousands and then tens of thousands of time, it just starts to click in your head. Like, this is what it looks like, you know?
So how are you able to transfer that taste that you've developed to the team? So for like, because you said like broad things, but I'm sure there's a million detailed things, like what zoom to use on the face to use in the thumbnail, right? Like
The answer is whatever makes the best video. Because the problem is the more, which I have so many friends who are like this. They'll make like checklists for their editors. They'll make, this beat and this beat, and you need to have like a 3-part arc and then this. But the problem is that's how you, the more constraints you put on the team, the more repetitive and less innovation you get. And the more like, after 10 videos, people are gonna be like, all right, I've already seen this. So to me, and I'm 24 and, I'm probably, my mindset will change over the next 10 years. I just haven't been in this industry too long, but the only way to like really make innovative content and keep things fresh is to not put constraints on or put as little as possible. And so that's why I'm very hesitant on all that stuff, because the more I say, the more they're gonna be like, oh, then that's what we do. And then, I'll say one time like, oh, ideally there's a cut every 3 seconds. And then next thing you know, every video there's a cut every 3 seconds or whatever. So it's hard because I try to give as little not training, but as little facts or as possible, and more just make suggestions, if that makes any sense.
You mean publicly or to your team?
To my team, yeah.
So you talked about sort of teaching your voice or your style, whatever we want to call it, to other people on the team so they can be kind of a MrBeast replacement. So what's the process of teaching that? So you don't want to...
No, I got you. So you're more talking about like what I would call almost like cloning, right?
Yeah.
Like Tyler and other people like that. Yeah. So when we were hanging out today, I was showing him how we have multiple people in the it's almost like talking to the camera to have it.
Yeah, you turn slowly to the camera.
I was like, anyways, have it.
Is it weird to you to not be looking at the camera?
This whole interview, I constantly have been turning towards the camera. I'm like, wait, I'm talking to him.
Yes.
It's a habit. Because my whole life, I've just been talking to a camera.
Who are you thinking about when you're looking at the camera? Do you like imagine somebody?
I'm fully thinking about the person just sitting watching it. And I almost, it's weird. When I'm looking at the camera, I don't see a camera. I'm like in a haze picturing what the viewer is seeing when they watch it, if that makes sense. And that's where I'll be saying things and or doing something. And then like when I'm watching, I'm like, that's not what I want. And then I'll freeze up. It's very weird when I'm filming. And for people who haven't worked with me too much, they'll think like, I don't know. It's very weird, like how I go about it, because I'll just be doing whatever, like lighting a firework. All right, this is $1,000 firework, and I'll go to light it. I'll be like, and I'll like freeze because in my head I'm like, this. I don't know. I don't like how that flowed or how that shot looked, because it's weird. I can perfectly picture what I'm filming by just looking at the camera and then putting myself through the lens of the camera while making content. I can do it at the same time.
So you're like real time editing
in my head. Video. Yeah. That's something that didn't at the start come natural to me, but in the last probably like 5 years, it's happened. And so I would say it's one of my greatest strengths, but I don't know how I developed it. But anytime I'm filming anything, like it's almost like the like right side of my brain, I can just look at it and I see exactly what I'm filming and I can just picture it.
Well, that's probably recording the video, being the talent for the video, and then watching the editing and like analyzing it carefully and doing that over and over and over and over and over. You
10,000 times. Yeah.
You do the editing more than the being in front of the camera. So like, you start to see yourself from that third person perspective.
Exactly.
And then maybe that actually helps with the nerves of it too. Like you see it as creating a video versus performing. Right?
Yeah. I think so. It's weird. I've never been nervous talking to a camera. It's harder for me to talk to a person than it is to talk to a camera, which I feel like a lot of people say that though, that are whatever, make content, right?
Interesting.
So I've heard that so many times. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just awkward and dumb.
Maybe they're practiced. To me, both are terrifying, but being in front of the camera by yourself is
so much easier.
Really?
Yeah, so much easier. I prefer it a million times over. but that's my whole life,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just, that's why it's interesting. Like, you've spent more of your time talking to people.
Yeah.
It comes natural. And I talk to a piece of plastic.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're talking to a person too. There's just on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, there's just a pixel on a screen.
So cloning. How do you achieve the?
Oh
Cloning?
yeah, that's right. This whole rabbit trail. So I was showing him that I have a lot of people in the company who are able to think like me and basically make decisions like I would make if I was like, if you were asked, hey, in this video, should we climb a mountain or should we dig a hole?
Yeah.
Right. And like, they would pick the same answer I'd pick 90+% of the times. And so like one example is Tyler, who I was showing you, and he was pitching some content. And like you could see it, like this, he was on point. And basically for just 4 or 5 years, we just spent an absurd amount of time together and worked on every single video together. And we worked side by side. And same thing with my CEO, James. He literally lived with me for a couple of years. I'm a big fan of just like finding people who are super obsessed and all in and A players that, they really just want to be great and then just dumping everything I have in them.
And like you were saying, because I'd love to find that and develop that. You're saying you're basically for a long time just said everything you were thinking to them.
Exactly. Like James, the guy who's basically my right hand man right now, for 2 years he lived with me, and we probably talked on average over those 2 years 7 hours a day. I mean, anytime I had a phone call, I'd throw it on speaker and I'd let him listen. Anything I was reading, any content I was consuming, like really just training his brain to think like me, so that way he could just do things without my input, without me having to constantly watch over him or give him advice. And that's where we've gotten. Like, so for the first 6 months, he didn't do anything. He just studied me and studied everything I cared about and how I spoke and blah, blah. And then the next 6 months, he started taking on some responsibilities. And now he can just run the company. And, I don't ever really have to check in on him. Like, most of the decisions he makes are exactly what I would do. And so I call that cloning. I don't know what other people would, but it's just like finding people that are really obsessed and they just kind of really want it and just being like, giving them an avenue to like get it, if that makes any sense.
Another way to see it is you're converging towards a common vision, and that makes like brainstorming much more productive.
Yeah, it just makes it where I don't have to be so involved in everything because I just have these people that I know will think like I will, at least relatively close to it. So I can kind of almost be in multiple places at once, per se. And so these things that, I still approve every idea we film and, everything before we film and all the creative, I approve it. But I don't have to like be in the weeds and nuances and do all this minor stuff. I can just let them handle it. I can just do the more macro things.